At number 10 now, the sound of a black hole. Edward Morgan from MIT collected X-ray data on a distant black hole, then transmitted it into a sound that is audible to humans. The original of this is about 1,000,000 billion times deeper than anything you could ever hear, the deepest note in the universe in fact. But with a little bit of tweaking, here is a sound of an actual black hole, and it's terrifying. Coming at number 9, we have the lost cosmonaut. In 1961, two Italian brothers recorded a signal from space which they claimed was from a secret Soviet space mission. It sounded like a female cosmonaut who was in distress while trying to orbit the Earth. Something had apparently gone wrong. She was complaining of feeling hot as she burned up in the atmosphere. Now the Russians announced that an unmanned craft had burned up in the atmosphere and denied they had any knowledge of the lost cosmonaut. At the number 8 spot now, we have Tabby's star. This mysterious star was discovered by amateur astronomers and found to be about 1,400 light years from Earth. The strange thing was, the brightness of it would dip by 22% for days at a time. Some suggested it was a Dyson sphere, a theoretical alien structure that would enclose a whole star to harvest all of its power. For many years it's been just a sci-fi idea, but Tabby's star seemed to fit this theory very well. At the time of recording, scientists are still carrying out further studies. Coming in at number 7 now, we have 234 stars. In 2016, Canadian astronomers found something very strange within the Milky Way. 234 stars that were blinking at exactly the same rate. Eric Trottier, the astronomer who found this, proposed that the signal was just too much of a coincidence. He thought it was of alien origin. He said that the pulsating signals were caused by an alien civilization flashing a laser in our direction, causing a faint but detectable blip in their star's light. The stars could even be 234 different civilizations pulling together to try and contact us. Moving on to number 6 now, we have the sound of Saturn. In 2002, the Cassini spacecraft passed by the gas giant of Saturn. It listened to the planet's aurora caused by its huge magnetic field. The signal was way out of human hearing, so they slowed it right down, they compressed it, and this is what they heard. Alright, moving on to number 5 now, we have the Lorimer burst. This signal was detected in 2007 after astronomers dug through 6 years of previous data. Then they found it. It was a very brief burst of radio emission, just 5 milliseconds in total. The area it came from was 5 to 11 billion light years away from Earth. This means that when the signal left its origin, Earth hadn't even been formed yet, which is mind-blowing. Scientists were shocked to find that whatever made this signal released more energy in that short burst than the sun does in 4 months. Moving on to number 4 now, we have this. It's a very weird name, but it has an incredible story behind it. Scientists detected this signal from an empty area of space with no stars or planet systems near it for about 1,000 light years, from an area between the constellations of Pisces and Aries, and yet a signal came. It was detected as being a short burst at about 1420 megahertz. That's one of the main frequencies at which hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, absorbs and emits energy. Scientists have often thought of using this to contact any aliens out there, and so when we received it, it's drawn a lot of attention. Coming in at number 3 now, we have frequency 4462.3. This signal came from a star only 100 light years from us, and it was a star quite similar to our own. It's called TYC 1220911, and it was nothing out of the ordinary until it did something. The noise it made was just 10 seconds long, but now that it's been adjusted so we can hear it, it's very scary and creepy. Tell me what you think of it. At number 2, we have the cosmic roar. In 2006, a group of California astronomers were trying to detect the very first stars in the universe. Instead, they heard a radio wave roar. What they heard was 6 times louder than the faint signal they expected to detect. In fact, this roar was 6 times greater than the combined emission of all known radio wave sources. And this wasn't the sound of the Big Bang, it was the sound of something mysterious from the start of the universe, something more intense than we've ever encountered. And finally now at number 1, we have the wow signal. What else could it be, really? In 1977, Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope detected the strangest signal ever heard from space. It came from the Sagittarius constellation, and many scientists thought that it sounded like it could be of extraterrestrial origin. It lasted for 72 seconds, and then it was never heard of again. The astronomer who found the signal was so shocked by it that they wrote "wow" in the margin, giving us its name. Now it's been adjusted like some of the other ones so that we can hear it, and this is what it sounds like.
Starting us off at number 10, we have the sounds of Saturn. Ever since Earth's Voyager flew by, researchers have noted the cosmic storms that take place on Jupiter. There is proof of lightning and other storm-like qualities that can be heard through the crackling picked up by NASA's Cassini spacecraft. In December of 2016, as Cassini crossed Saturn's rings, it picked up all these cool and wicked sounding cosmic storm sounds. This is a case where we know exactly where this sound and signal were coming from, but to hear a cosmic storm or have a bit of evidence to what it even sounds like on Saturn, that's pretty cool. Probably wicked scary down there, but still cool nonetheless. At number 9, we have sounds of Jupiter. Over the span of its 20 years mission in space, NASA's Cassini spacecraft made a quick pit stop near Jupiter to get a gravitational boost. During its pit stop, the craft actually picked up some radio waves from Jupiter too. And basically what I mean is that they were able to hear what it sounds like on Jupiter. It is very alien-like and different. Along with that, the sound of a Jupiter bow shock was picked up too. The bow shock is the sound that occurs when the sun emits a steady stream of solar wind which is repelled by a string magnetic force. When the two meet, they are converted into thermal energy and make this bow shock reaction. So even though just like our number 10 spot we know where it's coming from, it still makes it quite a little bit scary. Coming in at number 8, we have a mysterious Puerto Rico signal. Back in 2003, researchers from SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, operated a gigantic telescope in Puerto Rico to examine 200 sections of the sky and re-examine areas where they at one point had detected unknown radio signals. During this operation, they noticed that all former radio signals that were once detected were gone. All gone except for one. Not only did this one last signal hang in there, but it had actually gotten even stronger than before. It was coming from in between the constellations of Pisces and Aries, but there's something really strange about that. That is that this is a location that is not known to have planets or stars. So where the freaking hell is this signal coming from? The signal was at a frequency that hydrogen absorbs and creates energy. One of the most basic elements on Earth is hydrogen, so some suspected that it could be a sign of alien life, but once again, as well with most of the others on our list, who the heck knows? At number 7, we have light shifts. In the latter half of 2015, Jason Wright, an astronomer from Penn State, claimed that there were erratic and spontaneous shifts in light coming from a newly discovered star. This star is 1,280 light years away from Earth, and these light shifts were similar to the kind of shift that occurs when something passes in front of a star. Interestingly enough, scientists weren't able to connect this back to any other exoplanet, which is what led Wright to his theory that it could have been a large object or objects like satellites passing in front with the same effect. You know, it doesn't have to be satellites either. It could be Tic Tacs or pyramid-shaped UFOs too. Just saying, you know, because I'm pulling for our alien friends. Coming in at number 6, we have the wow signal. Back in August of 1977, a radio telescope at Ohio State University detected quite this strange signal. The radio was able to pick up a pulse of radiation that seemed to have been coming from near the constellation of Sagittarius. What's funny is that this signal lasted 37 seconds long, and this signal has become known to be known as the wow signal. Why? Well, because they were so shocked at the timely length of the signal that there was only one word to describe it, and that was wow. The printout of the telescope was shocking because it was in a band of radio frequencies that are actually banned here on Earth. While many scientists are still skeptical that this was maybe a signal or sign of alien life, you can never rule it out. In science, it should always be the case to study every possible scientific outcome, no matter how crazy. The nearest star from the signal was 220 million light years away, so this is a toughie. So tough that even since 1977, we still don't have the answer. So maybe it's our super smart alien friends after all? Coming in at our halfway point at number 5, we have a zombie star. Yeah, a star that is filled with zombies. All along we thought aliens were real and zombies were fake. We had it all bass-ackwards. I'm just kidding. But back in April of 2020, one of the signals that scientists got back amongst our number 1 spot, so keep watching, came from our own Milky Way galaxy. But this one specific and incredibly strong signal is said to be so strong that it could be picked up on any 4G cell phone at the time. It is also not fully proven, but believed that this signal came from a magnetar, a scientific cosmic name for a zombie star basically. And what do I mean by that? Well, when a star dies, it blows up into a supernova and then afterward collapses into a dense ball. If it becomes dense enough, then it becomes a black hole, and if not, then it turns into a neutron star. A magnetar is just a more powerful version of a neutron star, basically. So it is possible that this strong signal came from the stars of yesterday, a lot of yesterdays ago. At number 4, we have a beam from Proxima Centauri. Back in 2019 in New South Wales, Australia, scientists claimed they have discovered a mysterious beam that appeared to be from the Earth's closest star to the Sun, Proxima Centauri. This is a rather small star and is only around 4.2 light years away from us, which if you ask me still sounds pretty far away, but oh well. This star has an interesting exoplanet that is filled with rocks and is 17% larger than Earth's in its own habitable zone. You know what that means? Water is a possibility on the planet. And you know what that means? Where there is water, there is life. Scientists said that the signal shifted while it was being recorded because of the movement of the planet. And it is not fully explained or known how or why the planet was shifting, but I will tell you one thing, if water is actually there, then we already have our answer. It's aliens, people! Starting us off in our top 3, at number 3 we have HD 164595. How easy of a title is that? Which by the way is a name for a planet. Yeah, what a great name. I think it might be Scottish. Anyway, back in 2015 a Russian telescope detected a strong signal from a sun-like star named HD 164595. This star is located in the Hercules constellation and is 95 light years away and is 99% the size of Earth's sun. It has one planet that is the size of Neptune and has a 40-day year. Researchers at SETI, once again, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, have not been able to identify where the signal had come from. Claudio Maccone of the University of Turin in Italy told The Guardian back in 2015, "The power of the signal received is not unrealistic for Type 1 civilizations." Now what is a Type 1 civilization? Well, basically Earth. So maybe we have Earth-like friends sending us little love notes here and there just from an oddly named star, and if they do live there and exist, I really hope they have a better name for that one other than what us Earthlings gave it. Coming in at number 2 we have the repeating radio burst. Mysterious signals and sounds from space have been known to repeat all the time, but for the first time ever, researchers have noticed a pattern in a series of bursts coming from one source 500 million light years from Earth. Usually these fast radio bursts, or FRBs, are sporadic and untelling, but between September 16th, 2018 and October 30th, 2019, researchers up here in Canada recorded these bursts every 16.35 days. Over the duration of 4 days, this signal would release 2 bursts each hour and then go silent for 12 days. If they're coming in specific patterns, don't you think that means they are coming from another intelligent life source? I sure as hell do. And finally, coming in at number 1 is a signal that is coming to us from our very own Milky Way galaxy. On April 28th of 2020, 2 ground-based radio telescopes detected intense pulse and radio waves from outer space. While it only lasted for a millisecond, for Earth's astronomers, this is huge. This was the very first time a fast radio burst was ever recorded this close to Earth. It was only 30,000 light years away from Earth. Yeah, pretty close, right? I mean, the Canadian Hydro Intensity Mapping Experiment and the Survey for Transient Astronomical Radio Emissions, say that 2 times fast, or CHIME and STARE for short, had no problems whatsoever picking up this millisecond signal. What makes this really exciting is that Earth scientists are getting closer and closer to tracking down where these FRBs are coming from. And now to finally have one from our very own Milky Way galaxy, that's a mega win. Maybe we aren't just alone. Maybe we even have galactic neighbors closer than we originally thought.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have Space Roar. You would think that space is silent, right? I mean, it's a vacuum, so it should be, but that is not the case. It is said that the entire universe is alive with sound, and there is a thing called space roar. Space roar apparently isn't an everyday sound and is rather these strange radio signals that scientists have detected throughout space. These signals are so loud that they are able to drown out other signals, which can be quite annoying for the scientists who are trying to study and learn. While we know what the sound is, we don't know where it is coming from. Apparently some people believe it was coming from the leftover radiation from early stars, and some Some others believe it is from the gases swirling around the galaxy in clusters, but at the end of the day, no one is really sure and it remains one noisy mystery. In our number 9 spot today we have light shifts. In 2015, a Penn State astronomer named Jason Wright explained that there were pretty erratic and spontaneous shifts in light that were coming from a star that was newly discovered. This star sits about 1,280 light years away from us on Earth, and these shifts were very similar to as if something was passing in front of our view of the star briefly before then passing through. Scientists weren't able to connect this to any exoplanets or anything like that, which we could understand, and this is what led Jason to quite an interesting theory. He stated that it is possible that the shifts are caused by massive objects passing in front of the star in a kind of orbit, like an array of massive satellites or a similar kind of structure. Like the type of thing that would be produced by an intelligent and civilized life form. You see where I'm going. In our number 8 spot today we have the lone survivor. This is an unexplained signal that was first detected in 2003 when astronomers were using a massive telescope in order to re-examine 200 different areas of the sky. I say re-examine because these were areas where there was once a signal that was detected coming from them, and they were taking a look back to see if they could detect the same signal again. During this re-examination they found that all of the signals had disappeared, well, all except for one. This signal didn't only stick around, but it got stronger. This signal is coming from between the constellations of Pisces and Aries, and the curious thing about this location is that it resides in a place where there are no known obvious planets or stars. To make things a little more mysterious, there are scientists who believe that the frequency this signal is in is the frequency alien life would be most likely to use if they were trying to contact us. I have no idea what leads them to that theory, but it felt too interesting to exclude. So while there are other possibilities of what these signals are or where they're coming from, it is quite an interesting piece of information and is something that definitely deserves a little more looking into. In our number 7 spot today we have the Milky Way radio burst. On April 28, 2020, 2 radio telescopes detected an intense pulse of radio waves, and they only lasted just a millisecond, but they left some astronomers astonished. The reason for this is because it was the first time a fast radio burst had been detected that close to Earth. The signal was located 30,000 light years away from Earth, which places it in our Milky Way galaxy. It also apparently was extremely difficult to miss these radio waves as well. The Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment, or CHIME for short, and the Survey for Transient Astronomical Radio Emission 2, or STARE-2 for short, explained that it was in fact so easy to pick up that CHIME wasn't even looking in its direction, and it was still so easy to detect because it was loud and clear right in their peripheral vision, and STARE-2 also saw it clearly, even though, according to Kiyoshi Masui, assistant professor of physics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, it's only a set of a few radio antennae literally made out of cake pans. Well, it looks like whatever the cause for this signal, something or someone perhaps really wanted us to see it. Or maybe it's just a strange coincidence and is just part of the mysteries of space and our galaxy. In our number 6 spot today we have Saturn's rings. Saturn is well known for its impressive and stunning rings. I mean, they are the most extensive out of all of the planets in our solar system, and while seeing photos and diagrams is lovely, meeting the rings in person might not be so much of a pleasant experience. The rings consist of a ton of particles that range in size from micrometers to meters, and they are mostly made up of water ice, but they have some trace components of rocky material as well. In December of 2016, the Cassini spacecraft, which spent years studying Saturn and its icy moons, flew through one of these impressive rings, and the spacecraft's radio and plasma wave science instrument was able to pick up the sound of what crossing one of these rings sounds like. At first, it's just the regular staticky sound of being close to the planet. But then, as the crossing happens, things get a little louder and a little more rocky. The influx in sound is due to the particles bombarding the craft as it flies through the air. It is incredibly cool to hear this and get a bit of a closer look into what it's like to be near the planet, but it's also just another perfect example of how terrifying and relentless space can really be. In our number 5 spot today, we have the BLC-1. As astronomers were searching for the existence of life beyond our planet, they spotted something that piqued their interest. This was a radio signal that has yet to be explained that was coming from the direction of the star that is closest to the Sun, Proxima Centauri. The reason why this specific radio signal was so exciting and promising is because the star has at least 2 planets that orbit it, and one is thought to be temperate and rocky like Earth. The observations in which they picked up these signals took place between April and May of 2019, and they were detected by Breakthrough Listen, which is a decade-long search for alien broadcasts. They were using Australia's Parkes Observatory when they made the discovery. They explained that throughout their research, every now and then finding something strange is expected, but this detection was more unusual because it was a strange discovery that required them to then begin planning next steps, which does not happen very often. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Lorimer burst. This is a fast radio burst that was detected in 2007, and it was named after the person who spotted it, Duncan Lorimer. Well, actually, it was discovered when Duncan assigned his student David Narkevic to look through archival data taken in 2001 by the Parkes radio dish in Australia. After analyzing this data, it was found that there was a, quote, 30 Jansky dispersed burst that occurred on July 24, 2001. This burst was less than 5 milliseconds long, and it was located just 3 degrees from the Small Magellanic Cloud. It still isn't quite clear what caused this signal, but it's thought that perhaps it might have been a singular event, such as a supernova. In our number 3 spot today, we have the solar system exit. What we're about to listen to isn't a real-time space recording, but it is an audiograph of the Voyager's plasma wave science observations that spanned several months between 2012 and 2013. The readings are important because this is the time when scientists believe that the Voyager left our solar system's heliopause, making it the first human-made object to leave our solar system. It's a huge step for science and space exploration, but the sounds that accompany it are anything but comforting. I mean, come on. That horror movie style shrieking sound on the way out into deep space isn't exactly what we want to hear. I'm not exactly sure what the source of the sound is, but let's just all hope that it isn't something sinister. In our number 2 spot today, we have the WOW signal. In August of 1977, there was a radio telescope at Ohio State University that detected a strange signal. The radio picked up a pulse of radiation that was super unusual and was coming from somewhere by the constellation of Sagittarius. The signal lasted for 37 seconds, and it has been commonly referred to as the WOW signal because of the fact that astronomers observing it were so shocked at the time that they wrote WOW on the printout from the telescope. This signal was so shocking because it was in a band of radio frequencies that are internationally banned on Earth. There are a multitude of natural sources for radiation in space that would cover a multitude of frequencies, so there are scientists who are skeptical that this could be proof of alien life, but skepticism doesn't mean it should be ruled out. Maybe this signal came from a huge astronomical event, or perhaps intelligent alien life with a very powerful transmitter who were trying to contact us. At the end of the day, the signal was detected in 1977, and we still don't know exactly where it's coming from or why it exists, so who's to say for sure. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Venus signal. For many years, we have been trying to figure out just how Earth and Venus turned out to be so different. Venus is Earth's closest neighbor, and they're quite similar in size and density, but that's about it, to be truthful. Venus has a thick, toxic atmosphere that is filled with carbon dioxide. There are thick yellow clouds of sulfuric acid that trap heat on the planet, which has caused temperatures that are hot enough to melt lead. It's the hottest planet in our solar system, and it's not even the closest one to the Sun. That is all exactly why, during a brief swing by Venus, when NASA's Parker Solar Probe detected a radio signal that was signifying the spacecraft had flown through the planet's upper atmosphere, it was exceptionally interesting. This was the first direct measurement of the atmosphere of Venus in about 30 years, and it showed that it was significantly different from before. A new study published showed that Venus's upper atmosphere undergoes some interesting and confusing changes over a solar cycle, which is the sun's 11-year activity cycle. This could potentially give us clues as to how and why the Earth and Venus are so different. Because of the harsh climate on the planet, spacecrafts have only been able to survive at most for a couple hours there, so there is still so much mystery surrounding what exactly goes on Venus.